I was the smallest person in the room. Everyone in that room was doing a minimum of $100,000 a month. At the time, again, what was I doing? 30K. That's a big jump.
Welcome to this very special episode here on Millionaire Moves, your podcast from financial freedom, because I have a very, very special guest. And that's why it's the first episode ever in English, because the guest is only speaking in English. And I'm very, very happy because here in the podcast, it's all about you becoming a millionaire, you getting really financial independence so that you can do whatever you want to do. And I have actually the Freedom Queen herself in this episode, in this interview. And she is going to talk about how she actually became the Freedom Queen, how she could start from kind of zero and really nothing or a couple of $100 in New York to now a multi-million-dollar company. And that's Bridget James Ling. I'm so happy that you're here. And maybe you can talk a little bit about yourself and really tell everybody who listens today how you became the Freedom Queen. What happened that you're like, wow, I can do whatever I want to, and I live my life as I'm supposed to be, and now I really can live that freedom myself.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me on, Dr. Julie. This is amazing. In 2020, was working a job that was my dream job. I thought, this is it. This is what I went to school for. I was studying for, and I moved to New York City with $500 in my bank account, one blow up air mattress, and one suitcase. And I did the thing. It was my dream life until it wasn't. And I found myself subscribing to a matrix where you have endless debt. You're always waiting for the weekend. You're working for someone else, building their dream. And I really felt like I had a calling on my life. Like maybe you do too. You feel like, no, there's got to be more to your life. Like God did not just put you on this planet to do average things. And so it was around 2019, I invested in my first coach. And I didn't have the money to do it. And I remember calling my mom and saying, Mom, I'm going to invest in this life coach. She was like, do it, baby. Like, that sounds awesome. You know, she's always believed in investing in yourself and growing yourself. So I invested the money I barely had. I worked extra jobs to invest. I think it was like $800. And at the time, that was a lot of money for me. And I worked with her. And you know what was great about this is that she didn't teach me anything. There was no step-by-step process. There was no, here's how to do this, no vehicle, no formula, no framework. But what she did do is she saw something in me. She saw something in me that I didn't yet see in myself. And I get emotional just thinking about it. And that was the spark of my, wait a second, maybe I can do more. And so I started doing things in New York to bring in extra income and walk dogs and sell things on the sidewalk. And I got extra jobs and I would work and work and work. But I learned in that situation that in order to make money, you have to exchange your time. And that's not the case of real freedom-based businesses. And so it was around 2019, I started making my escape plan or my freedom plan. I knew I was going to get out of my job. And so I started trying to make money online. I called it my subway business, where I would wake up at 5 in the morning. I would get on the subway, and I had about an hour commute from the Upper East Side to the Lower East Side, or when I worked in the Bronx, Upper East Side to the Bronx, and I would call it my subway business. And if you know anything about New York City, you don't get service when you're riding on the subway, but you do get service when you're riding at the stops, at the stations. So this is what it would look like. I would be texting people in the DMs, trying to sell to people, and I would send the message as soon as we got to like 86th Street, and then I would send it, and then we would go back into the dark tunnel, and the message would go out, and I would have no idea if they were interested. And at every single stop, I would make an IG story post, a feed post, a text in the DM. And eventually, I started, through all of these different side hustles I was doing, I started to make money. And I started to pay down my student loan debt because I had so much student loan debt. And I realized that if I wanted to escape the matrix, the only way I was going to be able to do this was by increasing my income. There was absolutely no way with a $50,000 9 to 5 job per year at student loan interest rates that were through the roof. I remember sitting at home one night, Julie, and calculating the amount of money that I was paying on my student loan debt, plus my New York City rent, plus life in general. I was like, there's no way I'm going to break free of this. I have to do something in order to break free. And so I started learning about online businesses. I was always obsessed with entrepreneurship since I was a kid. I studied how to build brick and mortar dance companies, and it started working. And then 2020, COVID hit, and it was like the best gift ever. It was a biggest blessing in my life. I know there was obviously really negative things that also happened with it, but in times of great turmoil and tragedy and challenges, there's also an opening. And if you can use the thing that is the worst thing as the best thing, you'll become a multimillionaire. And so I saw it as my freedom plan, and I went to town. I had to reprogram and rewire my entire body and mind to be the freedom queen, because you see, maybe you're listening to this and you have all these other things. You can't charge that much. You can't make that much. Who would buy that? Oh, you need to work for someone else. Oh, you're going to try that internet marketing thing. Oh, you're going to try and be a coach. Ha ha, what's a coach? So I had to do so much to get rid of those ideas that were seated in my brain. And I remember going to town. I would wake up at 5 in the morning and I would read these affirmations, and I would literally stare at my vision board, which is my life. My vision board that I made at that time, Julie, said make $5,000 a month. I've already made double that this morning. That was my vision on my first vision board. Make $5,000 a month. And I thought that that was the ultimate dream. And I would stand in front of this vision board. This is not exaggerated. I would stand and jump in front of this vision board. I was like, you are going to do this. You are going, like, you have no choice but to do this. And I had to do that. And I think some people listening to this right now, you might have to, I call it like the Bridget boot camp. You might have to put yourself through this Freedom Queen boot camp in order to jumpstart your life. Because if you're overcoming momentum right now, and you're overcoming the law, which is objects in motion stay in motion unless enacted upon by an outside force. If you're just in this motion right now and you're operating at the same speed and velocity, you're not going to continue to grow at that speed. You have to have something, an outside force come in, hit you, and create more momentum. And so I call the Bridget boot camp. So I started doing that, and I started working, and I started making more money. I started signing on clients, and I started making like $3,000 to $5,000 a month. And so I booked a one-way ticket to Costa Rica. And within the first 2 weeks of being in Costa Rica, I met a man. And this man had also just escaped New York City and was living in Costa Rica, and he was building his own business. And within the first 2 months of knowing each other, we moved in together. We moved to Mexico. And I just went on this pathway of listening to God, building an insane business, being obsessed with the art of moving the masses and building movements. And now it's a $5 million company, and thousands of women around the world are freedom queens, and they are building movements of their own and becoming millionaires. So that's really where it all stemmed from, is those couple of moments in New York City where I felt God saying, you're meant for more. And I didn't just listen to it, and I didn't just ignore it. I didn't listen to the excuses of, oh, I can't invest in that, I can't afford it. I just went forward anyways.
I love it. And I feel so many connections just in this story, because my path started all in 2020 as well, when I couldn't be working as a trauma surgeon anymore because all the surgeries stopped, and they put me off work and said, now you can stay at home, but obviously during that period where we're not allowed to do anything else than
Yeah.
planning our lives and starting our freedom plan inside of my home because
Yeah.
I was not allowed to leave my home. And so I totally can relate also from the time frame. And you just said so many interesting things, but I think the most important thing was that you really believed in yourself. And it started small, like you said, you wanted to have 5,000 a month, and now you have a 5 million company. So obviously you grew immensely in the meantime. And the second thing you also said was that you had to switch a lot of beliefs, like a lot of this, you can't charge this, who is gonna pay this amount of money? So what changed, or what did you do money mindset wise to actually be able, instead of getting 5,000 a month, charging for some things you do and some teachings you do, 20,000, 50,000, $100,000 packages? What did you do in order to become that person and to know that you actually give this value, that you can charge this amount?
I just had a client ask this today. She said, what can I shift to be someone who attracts people that want to pay them $50,000? Or she said, pay me $50,000. And I was thinking about it and I said, you gotta, first things first, you have to be iconic. If you want a high level human to pay you $50,000, $100,000, you better be out there falling on your face more than other people. You better be going for dreams that are far bigger than your client's dreams. You better be evolving and failing and making mistakes and having big wins and learning from them. If you want to be paid big money, the greats are paid great money because they do things that are extraordinary. If you want to be paid ordinary amounts of money, go do ordinary things. And so a high level people that want to pay $50,000, they're attracted to big people. Why? Because when someone pays you $50,000, they are attracted to that new identity they're going to get when they invest in you, because investing in themselves is not about investing in you, the mentor. Investing is about them. They want to know, when I invest this money into a mutual agreement between the two of us, am I going to go through an identity shift? Am I going to expand? And a lot of times what happens is the mentor themselves aren't expanding. They're not epic. They're not doing things that are like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. But then they charge amounts of money that, they think that people are going to pay them that. It's like, what have you done for anyone to be able to pay you that amount of money? Second thing of this is not just your embodiment, but it's also the value. So there are certain things that people value more than other things. I'll give you a great example. A lot of times people try to be wannabe business coaches on the internet. And what happens is when you're being a generalist business coach, or let's say a mindset coach, and you are going to people and you're just like, oh, you're going to learn how to grow your business, you're going to learn how to fix your mindset, or you're going to learn how to get your health back, whatever, there's a cap to that amount that you can charge for that. There's a limit, but there's no limit to the amount that you can charge for, say, I'm going to help you build a high-end movement. I'm going to help you write the stories of your past and turn them into the stories of your future. I'm going to help you insert what that high level client desires. And so a lot of people are fighting for like average income versus if they stepped into the extraordinary, which is high level problems and desires, concepts that are outside of just how to, you would be making a lot more money if you were speaking to the more extraordinary, the more high level, the more specialist over the generalist. And so if you want to charge more, what do you need to do? You need to be an epic human. You need to freaking go for it. And two, you need to be the specialist, not the generalist.
Mhm. And you specialized in this coaching industry where you really bring people to move and um, to see themselves as a better version, as the best version they can be.
Yeah.
And you open up that room to also for the people to evolve and to see what they can do, which I totally love about you, that you show that everything is possible. Like a lot of people out there say, if you do that, you might be able to do this. And you just say, where do you want to go? Let's see how you get there. And that's exactly what I do, except that I work a lot with investing into the stock market to really grow your wealth through the stock market as well. But I totally say exactly the same, like where do you want to go? And when do you want to be financial independent? Let's go and let's get that. And you already said earlier that you found out for yourself that you really needed to increase your income. And you did. You went and you worked your ass off to be there. It's not that you just waved the wand and then you were there, but obviously you worked a lot to get there. And my question now is, when you see yourself evolving, when would you say was the biggest impact for you or the biggest shift for you that you saw for yourself? Everything is possible for me.
Ooh, there have been so many moments of this, many. And one of them I vividly remember, I was about 1 full year in business and I was making pretty good money at the time. I thought it was really good. It was like 30K cash months. And I realized that internally I was playing big, right? So you internally, you know, you're the one. You feel incredible. You feel like you're smart, you're the badass, you're intelligent, you know what you're capable of. But here's the thing. Are you externally showing up as that? Are you externally making those moves that are alignment with that identity? And so I internally felt incredible. And so I decided to join a mastermind. And in the mastermind, everyone was making more money than me. Everyone. I was the smallest person in the room. Everyone in that room was doing a minimum of $100,000 a month. At the time, again, what was I doing? 30K. That's a big jump. And I invested, and it was more than I think the mastermind was more than I had invested in like a 6 month long mastermind. And this mastermind, I think, was 8 weeks. And it was the same amount, if not more, than what I had paid to be in a 6 month mastermind. And I was like, okay, let me get in this space. So I get in this space. And I remember the first call, and I know all these women. I've seen them online. Like, oh my gosh, they're so beautiful. They're so cool. And I'm sitting there at this little house in Thailand. I'm like, what's going on? Am I in the right room? Like, who am I to be here? Just invested this money. I don't even know if I told Robbie. And I'm sitting there and I'm listening to everyone talk. And I asked to go last. Don't do that. Okay. You should go first all the time. I asked to go last. And as I'm sitting there, I'm listening to everyone and I'm like, no one in this room is smarter than me. No one in this room has access to more things than I do. No one in this room is better. So then why am I not making the same amount of money as them? Why? And I kid you not, within like a week, my business doubled. So I went from having a 30K cash month to a 62K cash month, and then 98K cash, 98K cash, 98K cash, 100K cash, 100K cash, 100K, 200, 300, 400. And it was because I put myself in a space that was actually a match for my inner identity. Because you see, before, my inner identity was high, my external identity was being in a room where I was the biggest person in the room.
Mhm.
In that 6-month mastermind that I was in, I was the biggest person in the room. I was making the most. People were asking me for help. They were saying, how can I sign on to work with you? They were hiring me. And then I decided, you know what? Let me just try and get in this room that's where I'm the smallest person. Boom. The business blows up. Everything expands, because if your external reality is mirroring back to you that you're good and everything's fine, you're probably not going to change. But if the people that you're surrounding yourself with are way ahead of you, you are going to change and actually become that person.
Yeah, I totally agree, because the thing is, once you see that, like what my clients often experience once they become wealthier and wealthier, they feel that they're not part of the system anymore. They feel like I have outgrown everybody. So they sometimes keep themselves small to be part of a society instead of going higher and then seeing, oh wow, I can be a part of a new society. I can be part of somebody else, and I am actually not that different than them, or they are not different than me. Like, this is often also a big money mindset shift, that it's like them, the millionaires, and me. I'm not part of them. They're like their part, and then there's me.
Yeah.
But once you go there, you see,
Yeah.
oh, they're like normal humans.
Yes.
They
Just
have normal
people.
conversations, and they are pretty nice as well, you know? And to really get into that room, I think that's one of the most important things. And that's also one last thing I want to talk about with you, that last year you opened for the first time this room in person, like Freedom Queen Live, and it's going to be this year as well. And I really, really, really want to be there. It's going to be in the US. So everybody who's listening, obviously, check out once in the caption. I will have a link for it. And it's incredible, I'm sure, because you said for now you were in Thailand, you were on the Zoom call, and you could put yourself last. But once you're in the room, you're actually with the people, and the connection is so much more intense, and you can't hide there anymore. You have to step up to become that person, to own the room, and to be with the other people. So maybe you can say one more last thing about the experience to actually meet your clients in person and to have this room live.
Being in person will change your life. You can hide behind your Zoom screen or the podcast recording. You can't hide in person. And if you want to be a real embodied leader, you want to charge the amount of money that Dr. Julie was talking about, you have to do the things that your clients would look at you and go, wow, she's incredible. She's Wonder Woman. She's epic. She's putting herself out there. I want to work with her. Every year, multiple times per year. I'm actually going to be speaking at Funnel Hacking Live coming up. I'm hosting a roundtable there. And being at that event, I go every year. It's a couple $1,000. It costs me, I mean, I don't even like to use the word cost. What a lame word to use. The investment in myself is a couple $1,000. This year I'm bringing my team. It'll probably be around $10,000. And I'm going in that room because I know the power of being in spaces like that. And so I know the power of being in spaces like that. And you get the opportunity to come to Freedom Queen Live 2025 this year and be a part of an experience where you learn how to define your movement, right? Like, what is that thing that you're known for in the marketplace? Translate that into content. Turn that content into cash with different offers and build this high-end movement where everybody knows your name. And that's what we're doing at Freedom Queen Live 2025. So if you want to be a part of that, there's going to be a link inside of the show notes to get your tickets. And we're like a quarter of tickets sold. And last year we sold out. So make sure that you get your tickets for Freedom Queen Live this year. Maybe you can come with Dr. Julie or just send me a message on Instagram if you have any questions about the event too.
Yeah, or me as well. We will put everything in the show notes, and I'm very, very excited to be there to meet you. Thanks so much, Bridget.
Oh my gosh, thank you.